Vegas to Cali is asking a lot of questions. How old were you the first time you ever played poker? I guess like 8 or something, playing like 5-card draw for no money with my dad and brother. If you want to know the first time for money, I guess it was 04, October 04. There were a couple guys I was golfing with every Sunday, and then on Columbus Day, which I prefer to call Indigenous Peoples Day, we were playing golf the Sunday, and for the first time all school year we didn't have school the next day, so we hung out that night at one of those kids' houses and played. Actually, I don't think we played for money that day, but we actually like figured out how to deal and like bet. We had only seen it on TV, we had never actually done it, and I think the week after we played for money. So October 2004, played no limit for money. Did I know I had a passion for it right away? Yeah, the 5-card draw meant nothing. The no limit I was really into. There was a time, I think someone asked me like, if I could give you $1 million but you'd never play poker again as long as you live, would you do it? And I think I said no at some point in high school. So I was really into poker back in high school, yeah. How long was I playing before I was playing full time? I played about 625 hours, mostly in Milwaukee while I was in grad school before moving to Vegas. So I don't know if you're asking like days on the calendar or hours. It was about 625 hours. And then right around, you know, hours like 6:30, I was in Vegas and had no other income. Favorite fancy restaurant in Vegas? Probably Herbs and Rye. I don't have experience eating at a ton of them, but that's the one I'll say. And favorite casual dining spot in Vegas? I would have to say Ellis Island, partly because it means you played an all-nighter and probably won, since you still feel like staying up and eating steaks and eggs. Favorite poker room in Vegas? Since that wasn't specific, will say the question is favorite poker room all time, and say of course the second to last location in Planet Hollywood. The best poker room Earth has ever seen and will ever see. Asian Rock, who I think might be Les, we've met at MGM a couple times, asked, in order to beat the rake in 1-2 no limit, you need to make between $12 and $14 an hour. Is that correct? To beat the rake? I mean, you're saying to beat the rake, not to make a living. I mean, to beat the rake, it's anything. I mean, if you make a penny an hour, that's beating the rake. Like, when I calculate what I've made or lost for the session, that's included in the rake. A pot gets pushed to me, and the rake was already taken out. So when I leave after 5 hours, and I've made $150, like, that's including the rake. So if you're keeping track of hours and money, if you've made exactly 0, that's break even. If you've made -1 penny or any other negative number, that's losing. If you've made a profit of 1 penny per hour or anything higher, that's in the black, that's a profit. So I don't quite understand what the question's asking. And Mr. Stealth is asking, if I had to do it all over again, what would I do differently? It's funny, that's your name on these names, by the way. All of a sudden Twitter names are coming up on YouTube when people leave comments. So it's funny because I had that video about stealth mode at that old guy at MGM. If I had to do anything differently, I would definitely play more hours early on, especially when nothing else was going on. Now I have the channel. There are things I do besides the channel that aren't poker or Vegas related, so I don't mention them, but there are other things that take up some of my time. In 2015, I had nothing else, and I definitely could have played more hours. I also would have played a lot more in other cities. I would have played a lot more at places like Excalibur and Luxor. I knew there were games going. I always knew there were games going on there. I just thought that the games were probably playing so small, it wasn't worth it. I figured they were soft. I knew no one who like really took poker seriously was going there, but I didn't think there was just enough. I thought it'd be like 1-2 and like raises to 5. And I did give it a try a little bit. This was kind of unfortunate for me. I did play a few times at Harrah's and I saw exactly that. Raises to 5, which was the first time in my life I had ever seen that. That never happened in Potawatomi. 1-2 poker in Milwaukee, absolutely never happened. I never saw in 600 hours a raise to 5 pre-flop. So I was seeing that in Harrah's, and you know, I moved there in March, so pretty quickly it was the series and you know, I don't like the series. That was my first experience with it. I thought it would be better than normal, and it was worse than normal. Games were just like tighter and quieter, and there were huge waits at places like Bellagio and Aria, so I was going to other places, and I think it was unfortunate that I gave these other places a try during the series, because I think if I gave them a try in like April or, you know, October, I would have experienced these like not so common poker rooms during like typical, quote-unquote typical times of the year, not when everyone's like flooding into town, and I might have had a different experience. But I did give those rooms a try. Specifically, I remember some Harrah's hands, and it was just like really small. The game was playing very, very small, so instead of that, I went to like Bellagio Aria, which was a more difficult game, but it was playing bigger, so that's what I chose to do. But yeah, I would have played Excalibur, Luxor, Aliante before it closed. I played plenty of PH. I would have played even more, and just more hours in general. And also tried, it was more difficult at the time, Airbnb didn't exist, but would have tried to play cities besides Vegas. Torminator asks, if you had to play at just one casino for 40 days, which would it be? Not allowed to leave the property for a minute. I would have to go with Bally's last year during the temp room, the temp poker room, which was after the summer, and I think the permanent room opened like mid-November, so that stretch in like late summer slash autumn. It's my second favorite room all time behind PH, but I know a lot more about the other areas in Bally's. I don't know how fun PH would be never leaving the property. I don't think that would include Miracle Mile, so it would really just be like the gaming floor and like Earl of Sandwich, which is okay, but I prefer Bally's. The rooms in Bally's, I'm used to places to eat in Bally's, downstairs in Bally's, and I really like that temp poker room. Sly asks, tips or suggestions for someone who's never played at a poker table but wants to for the first time. Well, I'm gonna assume you played home games, but not in a casino. I would say just pay attention. There are people who are very new to poker or very new to casino live poker. They say they played online or in home games. I have never had a problem with someone who's following the action, even if he or she doesn't know all the procedures, because at least when you're following the action, like an explanation is very quick and the game doesn't slow down very much. But people who don't know what's going on and also aren't paying attention in the least, it takes a while to tell them what's going on, and then they have to process everything that happened in the hand thus far, and then they start thinking about their action, and it takes like forever. So if you just pay attention, you'll get the hang of it, and I don't think anyone else will be too annoyed. And just do that for like a while, because even different casinos have different rules. So just because you play somewhere your first time doesn't mean the next poker room you play will have the exact same procedures. Even in Vegas, sometimes I don't have everything memorized. Straddle rules or across cities, how it works if a card gets flipped up by accident, things like that. So just follow the action and pay attention. All right, that's a wrap on Q&A video number 2. Cue the outro. And remember, rice is a spoon food.